A new ban list is here, and we're going to take a look at it. Hello, guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we're just going to take a look at the new ban list, and I'm just going to show you it all together because it's not a lot. We're just going to go over it real quick. Cool Tune actually had massive limitations. Now, within the top 100 decks of the WCQ, Cool Tune was heavily represented. It was reaching tier 0 levels of representation, if not just straight out tier 0 levels of representation. And notably, it was similar in terms of representation to that of Tier Lament. However, I don't think it had the same like domination or same like power level that Tier Lament had in comparison to its metagame. But I do think that it, specifically also being an easier deck to pilot, is one of the advantages that it had over something like Tier, right? It was kind of like the Sprite deck of that format, where you could just kind of pick it up, play it, and not really think about it, right? You just did the combo and you won, right? And I think Cool Tune is very similar in that nature, where it's just kind of like you do the combo and you win, and it's a very simple deck to play for hours on end. And I think that led it to be a little bit more represented than maybe its power level would suggest, and other decks that maybe are more powerful or at least comparable receive less overall playtime. For example, Branded, I think, is a difficult deck to play at such a high level for so long. But I think Branded and its counterparts, things like Branded Draco Tail and other such decks of that nature, are arguably better than Cool Tune, but are vastly more difficult to play for such a long period of time. With that being said, for Worlds, I would imagine both of those decks to be heavily represented, or at the very least one of those to be heavily represented one way or the other. I would imagine probably the Draco Tail stuff, maybe a little bit more than just the pure Branded stuff, so that you have the ability to play into more matchups. We'll see. We'll have to see. But the point is that these are meaningful hits, and honestly, it's better than what I expected. I was expecting nothing. My expectations on the floor, gutted, just truly expected nothing, and we actually did receive limitations. Now, it's the same frustration I always have if there's a problem that a deck has or a card has. If there's some frustration that people have playing against it, I'd much rather just see him banned as opposed to limitations to consistency. Now, Cool Tune is a very powerful deck generally, right? Like each one of their cards is very powerful by themselves. So you can't necessarily just like ban a card and have the deck no longer function. But I think if you were to ban Rotary in particular, a lot of the problems that people have with that archetype and with that deck would be gone. It would be fine, right? Because a lot of the problem is the fact that you can use Rotary to get an extra normal, to get a search, and more importantly, to look at the hand. And if you take away Rotary's ability to do all three of those things within Cool Tune, the archetype becomes fine. And it's not like Cool Tune wasn't playable prior to Rotary. It was. It just wasn't as good, but like it was playable, right? So there's that. I obviously understand not wanting to kill a deck, and quite frankly, these hits don't kill it. I still think it's a top tier archetype. I still think it's definitely playable, and there's that. But it just makes the deck more inconsistent, which I don't like. I don't think it's fun. I don't think it's fun for the player, nor is it fun for the opponent, because it's kind of the worst of both worlds, where for the player, your deck just doesn't do the thing nearly as consistently, and you're going to notice that, and it's going to be frustrating, because you're like, wow, my deck just doesn't do the thing. Lame. Whereas for the opponent, they will see when the deck does the thing. It's like, oh yeah, they're going to see when Rotary triggers, and looks at their hand, and searches a card, and ends up winning them the game because they have perfect information, right? Whereas if you look at, you know, a deck like Draco Tail, for example, right? Draco Tail with less names doesn't always do the same thing, because you simply need a certain number of names to be able to access your entire game plan, right? So, like, for example, if they limited Malulu and you weren't able to consistently access Malulu, or if you weren't able to consistently access, like, Phimena or something else of that nature, that would be a meaningful consistency hit. The Ryzeals are another great example of this, where it's like, just by sheerly having them less consistently means that you're not going to get blown out by, like, X send aggregator, do the whole line, right? Whereas Cool Tune doesn't really have that. Like, any of the Cool Tunes does the whole thing pretty much by themselves, except for Mix, I guess. But that can be, you know, supplemented with a myriad of other things, right? It's like, if they have Ashe, it still does the whole thing. If they have, you know, any other 3, it still does the whole thing. So, I don't know. I'm surprised by how good it is, but I was surprised because of how little I expected. That's pretty much it. Also, Librarian went to 3. That's pretty much it. It's a ban list. It's a limited list. Obviously, we're missing Called By and Maxi and Shifter, and there can be only one, and evenly rivalry, and Goes In and Skill Drain, and blah, 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 blah. We're missing like 10 million cards on here, and I think that's the biggest issue that I have with this. It'd be nice if we actually banned some cards. Where are the bans? But alas, there you go. That's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.